A New Hampshire Republican candidate wanted literal death panels to be convened in the case of where an abortion is required to save the life of the mother. So now this is Republican Robert Burns, who recently won a Republican primary to take on Representative Annie Kuster in November. Custer, not entirely sure how that is pronounced, but nonetheless, Burns calls himself the only pro-Trump unapologetic conservative. And of course, he ran on, the normal Republican culture war issues, for example, no gun control, and we need to ban critical race theory. So, of course. But what's interesting is his current stance on abortion. Like a lot of Republicans, he has recently come out with a bit of a softer stance than the 100% pro-life, saying, "Oh no, I'm actually fine." Like, well, first, obviously, the right decision was to get rid of Roe v. Wade, right? But then saying, "Oh, I'm fine with a 15-week abortion ban." So I'm fine with abortion up to 15 weeks, and then we can ban it. So basically, the Lindsey Graham plan. In fact, he told local news station WMUR in December 2021, "Having Roe v. Wade is not necessary. 15 weeks is more than enough." Did you talk to any doctors about that? And with modern contraception, the amount of people after that point needing abortions is microscopic. Again, sources needed, please. Cite your sources. Now, that said, here's this quote on that. "I'm for reversing Roe v. Wade, but I'm not for restricting birth control. And there should be a system in which, when you have a life-threatening situation, it's a heartbeat for a heartbeat. I don't believe a mother should die because of that. Well, gee, how magnanimous of you that you would make sure that they don't die." Now, that said, like a lot of Republicans, he had actually a harder stance on the issue just a couple of years ago. In fact, in July of 2018, Burns claimed to be 100% pro-life from conception. In an interview on Public Access with State Senator Kevin Avard, Burns said that he supported exceptions to an abortion ban when the life of the mother is at risk. Oh, how kind. But proposed that a panel be assembled to decide whether a pregnant person actually had a legitimate reason to get an abortion. So, wait, let me give you the quote here. The problem is when we start using life of the mother, life of the mother absolutely has to mean, and I've talked about this before, you need a panel to look at it. Not because, my life is going to change, or psychologically I can't handle that, because fuck mental health, right? Because this is what they try to put in there. Absolutely, there's a few cases where, in fact, it is life or death. A woman comes down with cancer and she can't get chemotherapy without having an abortion, or what have you. In those cases, I believe we would need a panel in this sort of situation. Panels. Where, a group of unelected officials can come together and decide what kind of healthcare procedure you are allowed to get that could potentially save your life. Or if you don't get it, if they don't agree, then they'll let you die. Well, what would that be called? I'm trying to understand. What could we call that? Oh, right, I got it. Death panels. It's a death panel. Again, this is a literal case of life and death. Oftentimes, when the fetus is not going to survive anyway. And look, there are more than just a few cases, microscopic cases, where an abortion can save the life of the mother. No, there's plenty of cases. And look, think of some of the horror stories that we've talked about before in places where they have banned abortion, like in Texas, for example, but did allow for the exceptions, right? Well, it turns out you still have an issue there because doctors are afraid to do these procedures because the laws have to be poorly written, vaguely defined. And so you have these doctors that are like, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this." You know, I could lose my license. I could get thrown in jail. I could be fined. I could lose everything. And I know this person needs this procedure. And before this law, I could do this procedure and save her life, and it would be fine. But I can't do that now. My hands are tied. Again, there was a case where the a woman was bleeding profusely from this pregnancy that was not going to be viable, and the doctor's like, I can't do it. I know what I have to do, but I just, if I do it, I'm going to get charged with doing an illegal abortion. I just can't do that. And so, look, that's a huge problem. Okay, that is the horror story. And we, again, are hearing all these stories from all across the country in places where these trigger laws and these bans have gone into effect. Now, going back to his panels, his death panels, he refused to give any information on this, any details back then. Again, this panel would determine whether a woman deserves access to a procedure that could save her life, but we don't know who would be on that panel. What would it be made of? Who would choose the members of the panel? How long would the panel take to deliberate? Would there be an appeal process? You know, as you're sitting there lying on the table dying, could you do an appeal? And how long would that take? Well, what's the kind of required paperwork to fill out in order to do such an appeal to the panel? These answers, I mean, nobody has answers to these questions. And it's incredibly messed up to sit there and think, oh, yeah, no, we need to create panels, death panels in this country. Remember when they yelled about death panels, when they talked about Obamacare? Obamacare is going to create them death panels. Don't you know? Sarah Palin. Not true. Not true. But here we have a Republican candidate saying, oh, yeah, death panel sounds great. Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. Look, what they're doing, again, is going back to Republican arguments against any sort of federally funded health care. Well, here's a situation where Republican politicians, the government, is taking life and death decisions out of the hands of doctors and putting the government, sticking big government right up into it, right in the middle. Look, and by the way, in some of the states where we have seen abortion bans, we've already had panels that have started to form. Hospitals have reportedly, according to the New York Times, enlisted special panels of doctors and lawyers to decide when a pregnancy can be prematurely ended. Imagine. And this is already happening. So for half of America right now, you don't have to imagine. It's literally happening, where your doctor has to consult a lawyer while you're dying, while you're sitting there bleeding on the table. Can we do an abortion here? Can we actually do healthcare? Can we do our job? Ooh, I don't know. You might not want to. Got to clear it with the lawyer first. All of that takes away from the precious time that they could actually be doing, saving lives, doing their job. Absolutely disgusting. But here's the thing, right? These people call themselves pro-life, which, by the way, interestingly enough, as I've reported many times before in recent weeks, you have Republicans that are like, oh, did I say I was pro-life? No, we're going to back away from that, actually. I mean, I'm still pro-life, but, I don't want to ban abortion completely. No, I've never held that position before. No. They're not pro-life. It's never been about life. It has been about control the entire time. And by the way, the pro-life movement in politics, well, that's also another way that Republicans have used to trick voters into supporting them. So that when they get into office, the Republicans can just cut their own taxes and the taxes of their donors.